looking at a session and looking at the expertise of the panelists today, what I feel is that there are two dimensions, basic dimensions on which the students would be interested in knowing. One is the hardcore academic trajectory, in which I think you would be able to guide the students. And the other one is the larger domain of the product and service, maybe, sector of healthcare. So, and how to link between these two also, I think there are ample possibilities. And looking at the importance of the healthcare sector in the wake of the post-COVID, I think there's a global paradigm shift in importance given to this sector, and our students should be accordingly prepared to avail these opportunities, many of which may not be known to us now, but it is coming up, and they should be accordingly prepared. So as soon as Siddhartha joins us, I think we can go to the students directly. And I also, I do not know, Dr. Mall. I have gone through briefly your work and all that. You're basically a computer scientist, and you're working on the computational biology, and especially in drug designing and immunomodeling and all those things. And I think I'm sure that you're a biologist.
I consider myself more a computer scientist, but who has found his passion in biology, basically.
Okay. So I think this is another trajectory again, I would say, where students can be very interested. I think nobody can think, probably, or very few people can relate themselves being a computer scientist and also at the same time going to the biology domain, which is emerging and which is very important. So I think this will be very interesting and important for them. So I will look forward to your highlights on the emerging scenarios, especially in drug designing and bioinformatics approach, cheminformatics approach, and so on. And what are the possibilities for study, research on one side, and on the other side, how to take it, the knowledge-based products to the market. And that, I think, in that way, in that front, I think Siddhartha Nihalani would be the best person to tell us. Now, most of the times, as we know, that we have the scientific model, but technological model, but we don't know the business model. Now, how to link it, these two.
Yes.
So, can we start? Wait for some.
Okay, that's fine.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. You were basically you were in St. Jude's Children Hospital in Tennessee, and you were in the R&D sector there in the research division.
Yeah, so I mean, St. Jude has two different compartments. One is the clinical side, actually three different compartments. One is the clinical side, one is the fundraising side, and then they have the Advanced Center for Innovation, basically the Center for Innovation. And that's where we work as computer scientists, biologists, or immunologists. So, yeah, we try to work on all kind of diseases. I work in the Department of Immunology, and in particularly, we try to focus on diseases which are related to inflammatory conditions, and where cell death has a role to play. But the thing is, I work in the more advanced research, so trying to do more fundamental research, but at the same time, I'm pretty keen, and like in the past, I've worked on a lot on translational aspects of the research also, like finding biomarkers, and then now once you've found the biomarker as well as the drug that can target that biomarker, narrowing it down. So coming down to that from the big amount of data that we have, these are the areas where I've worked also in the past. Yeah.
So you're basically onto hardcore fundamental areas of bioscience.
I would not say hardcore, because I want to do things which have, I came to the US predominantly thinking about doing translational research. So I was doing hardcore, I would say, till a year or so ago. But then after participating in global open challenges, I got my eye opened, and it seems like, and after the pandemic also, we felt like what we do is okay, is important to find like what is going wrong when you have a disease, but it's more important to find cures for that.
Right.
So that's the reason I came to St. Jude, and particularly because I've worked also a lot on cancer. So, and that's why I came here. Fortunately or unfortunately, I am in a lab which is more associated to doing fundamental research. But we have also now opened translational aspects. Like we are working on drug sensitivity and like identifying the right drugs. We're trying to patent them and at the same time, like see experiment them on mice. So we are trying to do the different steps which are involved in your drug development and drug design or bringing drug to the market kind of stuff.
Right. Great.
So, and St. Jude is actually a very also a self-sufficient institute because we do have a pharmacogenetics as well as a pharmacokinetics department. So
Oh,
we have all the different kind of departments that one would think of within the institute. So if you identify a particular drug, or then you can even or like for particular biomarker, we have the structure biology people who help us to see whether there is really a binding affinity going on. But then we also have the pharma people who allow us to see whether a clinical trial can be done and things like that.
great. Great. Okay. Basically, you are a computer scientist, and then
Yes, I am a computer scientist who has found his passion in biology. That's the thing.
then you
Yes,
shifted to
exactly.
biology, and in the
Yeah,
applicational side, I would say that you have
yeah, exactly. I am doing more applied
uh,
machine learning based
machine
like
learning.
big data
I was
analytics.
coming to that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So two problems in computer in biology basically, and particularly like fundamental biology, you can say. Yeah.
Right. And also now that we have, so much of data every day being
Yeah.
generated, I think it is at the level of zettabyte, petabyte, I think,
Yeah.
the biological data, whether
Yes.
it is proteomics, whether it is genomics, I
Yeah.
think now how to make the best out of this data. And
Exactly.
I think
And
there,
I mean, getting the best out of the data, and at the same time, for example, harnessing the power of this data to build predictive models, so such that we can tell tomorrow if a new pathogen breaks out, who are the patients who will be
most
more
susceptible.
mild versus severe. Exactly. So when they are susceptible, then you can have also pandemic preparedness. Basically, you know how many beds you would need or what kind of
Right,
population stratification you can do, and tell that these are the kind of people who might suffer. So this is the age range which is more in the basically uh, critical zone or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I mean, so we also design predictive models in the sense like, so that allows you to whether you are talking about staging of the disease or whether you are talking about preparedness, things like this, epidemiological to hardcore just predictive models like
right.
machine learning based predictive models. Yeah.
Now, with this COVID, I think biosecurity is emerging as another area of focus. So, where
Yeah.
strategic planning, not only for the safety, but also
Yeah.
for counter strategies and all that. If a pathogenic, severe pathogenic the pathogen arises, so how to
Yeah.
counter it? And I think we have done in COVID. Our scientists have done excellently. I think
Yeah.
you just see the time period in which the effective vaccines have been brought out of the lab to the market. I think
Yeah.
that was unbelievable 5 years back, 10 years back.
Yeah.
Okay,
It has been tremendous, yes, particularly the
definitely.
success of the mRNA vaccines, like which are basically allowing you to program and get things into action. So, yeah, it has indeed been. Biosecurity is a very important tool, that thing that you have said, because also now the kind of modeling, like it's very similar to the analogy that I would give is like fake news, or we have now the power to even generate synthetic antibodies or like antigens, which can basically have impact biologically, can have a huge impact. So
Right, right. So, good evening, Mr. Siddhartha Nihalani. Great to
Hello,
have
hello.
you. Great to have you here with us. We
Glad
already
to
have
join.
started our conversation with Dr. Raghavendra Mall. He's joining us from the United States.
Hi,
He's
hi, Dr. Raghavendra. Pleasure to connect.
uh,
hi, Siddharth. Yeah, nice to meet
so
you.
so we'll
Same
be
here. Pleasure is
talking.
mine.
We'll be talking to our students who are in the audience today And I think they have a lot of questions, and this is such an important area. To my student participants who are watching us from, I think, different corners of the country, and especially the Northeast, I think they are very keen to know about the, the future prospects, especially in the larger sector of healthcare, and also, as I just mentioned a while ago, that there are very basically, fundamentally two broad areas I can see in the pursuit of biomedical studies leading to biomedical research and biomedical products and services. So I do not have any idea as to the level and background of the students who are participating, but we will try to be as simple as possible, avoiding jargons, technical terminologies, so that they can really feel absolutely free and uninhibited in raising their questions. And all I can tell as an opening remark to the students that I think biological sciences, biomedical sciences is here in the world, and it will be the determining science for the sustainable development, as we are very worried about today, and also for our health and prosperity, and which includes very much our personal healthcare system as well. So therefore, the orbit is quite large, and there can be different trajectories in this pathway. So I would, first of all, I will ask, let us start with the academics, because they have to prepare themselves for the market. Then I will go to Siddhartha. I think this is right. This is right.
Absolutely.
So those students, why I am telling, I'm a biologist myself. So I can see biology is very important today, and it has been important all along, but then biology did not, it could not proceed further up to beyond a certain point till a few decades ago, till 70s, because biologists were largely bogged down with the details in nature, describing things, organisms, species, right from the macro to the microorganisms. But then now we know that there are certain basic fundamental commonalities in all living organisms, and understanding life, whether it is a bacterial life, whether it is a human life, I think our basic platform, the basic mechanisms of life are fundamentally similar. So therefore, and these are so complex. Biological systems are so complex and intricate. So it was difficult to address just like that. So therefore, now that we have the technologies from computer science, mathematical science, and other areas, I think we have the tools to invade these areas in biology, which really were left outside the realm of scientific discourses and investigations. And with that, we can see the possibilities that biology, medical science, medical biology holds for the future in terms of our sustainability and survival on this planet. So this is the opening remark, and which means that the underlying point of what I said is that there are tremendous prospects in biological sciences. And there was a time that biology was even looked down upon, looked down as a true science. All right, because everything it was considered that if there is no mathematics, it cannot be science. But now we know that everything is mathematical in biology also. So we have to be very alert about our foundations in mathematics if you want to go into a career path in biological sciences. So it is very, very important. Biological science, to my mind, is nothing but all chemistry, which are guided by the same rules, atomic rules, grounded in physics and mathematics. So the students, please remember that we have to have our solid grounding in physics and basic fundamental mathematics, and that will really make our career progression very easy and there is a phobia. With this, I will stop. I will hand over to the experts. With this, there is a phobia among the people pursuing mathematics, physics, and computer science. They feel biology is absolutely Greek to them because they feel that biology is all, you have to know those Latin terms and all that, and you have to memorize everything, but it is not that nowadays. So therefore, this is, we have to break this ice amongst those people who are very, very strong basically in mathematics and physics, and they have an inclination to pursue career path in that. And they fear to trade across the boundary to biology, thinking that this is a very tough domain in the sense that it is highly descriptive. There is no mathematics in it, and this is all Latin and Greek, and depends on a lot of descriptive memorizing exercises. So this is not true. Any computer scientist, any person following mathematics and physics can easily, cross over to biological sciences with little grounding. So this is fundamental in our discussion today. So with this, I will request Dr. Raghavendra Mal. Can you please tell the students who are, say, in the secondary level, preparing for their class 12 or even slightly beyond in the graduation level, both in the in following the sciences in the streams of biological sciences, basic hardcore, and physical sciences, as we call it, with mathematics, physics. How do you see these students? Which are the emerging areas, not just masters in botany, masters in zoology, masters in microbiology, or masters in medical sciences, become a clinical doctor. I think beyond that also there are a lot of possibilities. Can you throw some light on that to the students?
Sure. So I'll just quickly, I think our speaker has very clearly said something which is very important and very fundamental. Like at the heart of it, all biological systems have to follow laws of physics and chemistry, and biological systems can be basically mathematically programmed or mathematically written. So that is actually, if you understand this key thing, then you will be able to do many things like what I am being able to do. So I just quickly throw a little bit of light on my career trajectory before I answer the question. I actually come from a very strong computer science background. So I did my bachelor's and master's together at IIIT Hyderabad, which is one of the premier institutes in India. And then during my after finishing my master's, I felt like, oh, my mathematics is not strong enough. And I understood a lot of computer science, but my maths was not strong. So that inclined me to do a PhD, which is more math focused. So I did actually a PhD in an emerging area at that time, back in 2012, in machine learning, in particularly kernel models at KU Leuven in Belgium. But by the time I finished my PhD, actually, I felt like, oh, I know how to basically model problems. Given a problem, I know how I can basically formulate it and build a predictive model or do stratification, segmentation. But what is the key application where I can solve such problems? I mean, I can basically make impact. And that actually enabled me to move towards biology. And as the speaker said, it's very it's not that straightforward for someone who comes from computer science background with a heavy focus of 5 or 6 years of focus on computer science to move into biology. So it takes a little bit of time, but if you spend that time to go through all the jargon and all, understand, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. You will see that all these biological systems are complex systems which can easily be solved using the models that you have learned in computer science, basically. And that's how for the past 7 years, I've been working in computational biology, what is called, and is a very emerging field. It's also sometimes people call it bioinformatics. So this is a very emerging field and has been there for some time. Particularly, it got propelled with the advent of NGS or next generation sequencing techniques, which allow you to basically get data at different level of granularity for different, be it your genomic, I mean, at the level of understanding how the genes are working or how the proteins are working, because this is what our cells are made up of. So this field has emerged and there's a lot of prospect. Nowadays, you will see in almost every US big lab, there is in a particular lab a bioinformatician or a computational biologist who is associated with that. So this actually, from an academic point of view, is also a tremendous path. And then there are COVID showed that, like there is a huge dearth of, I mean, people can generate a lot of data, but then for the biologists, the fundamental biologists, it's hard to understand all the data that they get. So during COVID, there was emergence of a lot of data from different countries. And it was, I would say, like the computer scientists as well as the mathematicians played a key role in helping them to, get the meaningful information out of that, which enabled then in the end to manage these pandemics in a very well way. So there are many different pathways for a computational biologist. Also, there are sub pathways, which I would say. So some people try to work in genetics, some people try to work in genomics, some people try to work in proteomics. There are sub fields which are there, and in each and every one of these fields, you need a different set of skills from the computer science perspective also, which can be useful. So these are some of the areas. Apart from that, there's also the emergence of what is called as biomedical sciences, where basically you have more data, like data coming from devices. So it's more at the biotechnology side, where you can pursue masters or PhD in the same field, where you have devices. Nowadays we wear Fitbit, Garmin, all these different devices are wearing and can capture a lot of information, which are non-invasive, right? And how do you mine that also kind of information to give back feedback or basically allow better patient care. Things like that also is very important. So I have talked more from the academic perspective. These are some directions, particularly like biotechnology, computational biology, bioinformatics, and there is a huge tremendous scope for that. You will, if you go just on LinkedIn and search for like jobs for bioinformaticians or like computational biologists, you will get tens of thousands of jobs in the US itself. So it's a very emerging market and there's a lot of scope. So I would say, like, I feel like it's better for people who are doing computer science to think of themselves as glue, such they can bridge two fields or be invasive, like try to be disruptive and try to bridge two fields. With that, I would just stop for the time being.
Thank you, Dr. Mal. With this, I will go to Mr. Siddharth. See, I'm drawing, continuing my link with what Dr. Mal said just now. See, there are many emerging areas in life science, biomedical sciences, because, you just take note of the speed with which we could sequence the viral genome. I think within 24 hours, less than 24 hours, we can get the COVID genome sequence completely, A to Z, right? And not only that, even human genes need to be sequenced. And from that perspective, I think there is a tremendous possibility and opportunity of a separate service sector emerging in the healthcare sector, where experts will be required who are basically techno-savvy in this biological next generation sequencing, or all the new sequencing technologies that are emerging very fast, right from those 1970s Maxim Gilbert protocols. Now we have come a long way. We have and now this students of what are the prospects in the market sector for this kind of biodiagnostics? I would say, say I got a pathogen detected in my blood sample, and I need it to be sequenced immediately after identification that is a virus. So how fast that can be done in a healthcare sector? How do you see that? And how do you, guide our students for that kind of career path? Because many students may not like to go for, hardcore fundamental research. Somebody may be needing a quick job, right? And there are ample opportunities apart from the traditional, conventional career pathways that we can think about following, say, physics honors, chemistry honors, or botany honors, zoology honors. I think anyone can come in and do some course so that they are familiar with these medical laboratory technologies. I think these are very fast increasing, rapidly enlarging domain? And how do you see the prospect in the market?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Speaker, and thanks, Raghavendra. That was a very interesting thought, and your career journey is extremely interesting. And computer science to this much detail into biomedical and bioinformatics is amazing to listen to that journey and that story. And I can imagine how powerful it is, and how you say it is completely common to have such a role in laboratories in the US. I think some time for India to be there, but I can see this must be it's just maybe a couple of years later, and then this will start happening. And we definitely don't have people who fit that bill by far. It's a very rarely chosen career path. But yeah, extremely impressed to hear from you. So I'll also take a few minutes to give you a little bit background about how my journey has been. I studied mechanical engineering about a decade or so back, and then post that, I through college was into building software as a hobby, mostly picked up programming and built a couple of web programming mostly, and built some websites for my college and stuff. And then a bunch of us in college together had this idea of doing starting up and doing a small SaaS business. We started selling software, and it happened to be that the first customer segment we were selling to were doctors. And we started spending time in that vicinity, spending a lot of time in doctor clinics and understanding their problems. We understood that the business of a doctor revolved around his time. That's the product that a doctor is selling mostly, right? His time is what customers pay him for. And we built a time management application for the doctor, for the patient, the doctor, and the staff to all be in sync. That software, it began with that humble beginning. Over the years, it became almost like an ERP software to run the whole business of a clinic. And then we sold that for many years. And as we kept understanding more and more problems that a healthcare business and entrepreneur faces, we started solving them. And one of them was clearly using technology to be discovered by new patients. That was one problem, right? They were looking at technology should help me find more business, more patients should discover me. It's hard for a small entrepreneur to be able to invest big dollars to compete against large hospitals. And that one insight made us build a whole doctor search directory. Back, I think in 2013 is when we launched our product, which I, by the way, work at Practo. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce that. So at Practo, we built a doctor search directory where consumers could come and say, I'm looking for so-and-so doctor in so-and-so city. And then doctors show up, and a patient could choose to go to one of them. Over the next 10 years, that has become like the bread and butter of the business. And of course, today we do a lot more than just that. But that's how we began. Now, in this 10-year journey, I've worked very closely with various healthcare establishments. Small clinic with a one doctor sized practice to large hospitals with 500 beds, and we build softwares for all of them. And we work in multiple partnership levels with these. Also diagnostic labs, and also pharmacies to a large degree. We run our own diagnostic labs at Practo now, and also do e-pharmacy, e-commerce for pharmacy as well. What I try to do was try to categorize what businesses are emerging in the healthcare space, especially in India. What is the growth trajectory of these businesses, and then figure out what roles are these guys hiring for. I thought that could be very interesting for students here, as to the industries that are growing, want to hire the most, and who is it that they're looking to hire. And as I was trying to jot down my points today, I realized a lot of them are, of course, core medical roles, which are into either fundamental sciences or natural sciences or medicine itself. But there are a lot of complementary roles. Just like in your case, computer science became a complementary role to medical science. There are quite a lot of roles ranging all the way from, say, operational excellence, customer experience, roles like digital marketing. All the hospitals I know right now are hiring digital marketers, because they all want to be on the internet and be discovered, because that's where the demand is moving. Patients are choosing to go to the internet and find out where should I get my next healthcare service. So I've put up a few slides. Is it possible I could share? It would give me a little bit structure to my points. I don't know if I'm allowed to share a screen. Let's see. I think I do. Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. So I try to break healthcare and the industries into a couple of pockets. Take a few minutes on each of these. So there is primary healthcare, which basically is all healthcare delivered at a clinic. And then there is diagnostics. Then there is secondary and tertiary healthcare, which is delivered at the hospital. It's a little more nuanced than that, but for this discussion, I thought I'll keep it as simple as that: clinics versus hospitals. There is the whole pharmaceutical business. Then there is population science, which basically population health is I'll go into what that is. And then there's preventive healthcare becoming quite big with things like the wearable devices that Dr. Raghavendra is just talking about. And then there's chronic healthcare management, which is delivered sometimes as hospitals, sometimes clinics, but it's a very different episode, and a lot of innovation is happening on how healthcare is being delivered in this segment. So just going into a few of these, right? In the primary healthcare space, the new emerging trend over the last couple of years has been booming of telemedicine. That has become quite massive. The government thankfully made it legal. It made to large scale adoption, both from consumers and doctors. They're both now connecting on the internet, which then opens up so many more potentials. First thing for doctors, just to be comfortable using telemedicine, what platform to be on, how to be accessed, how do you make your patients reach out to you. As a medical student, that may be super relevant today. And even other surrounding ecosystem of technology companies trying to build tech to do telemedicine, being able to do this right matching, because today with telemedicine the doctor patient gap can be reduced dramatically, because a doctor in Bangalore could be serving a patient in a tier 3 city in Bangalore, in India, right? So that opens up a lot of marketplace and matching solving company and businesses that could be created, and they of course have much of roles. Another new area in primary healthcare is just at home care, which also has a lot of new opportunities coming up, where a doctor at home, a nurse at home, a lot of caretaking at home is happening, and again leading to a lot of more business disruptions that are possible here. And for the first time in India, primary healthcare, which is a visit to a doctor just for a checkup, is now starting to be covered in insurance, which again opens up a lot more opportunities in that space, because it, the people essentially avoid a doctor visit as long as it's not a must. But that will change if this is going to get covered in insurance. So these 4 or 5 trends that I can see right now are going to change how we use primary healthcare. For a lot more things in your life, you will start taking a doctor's opinion. And when that happens, the size of the industry will grow, and a lot more people will be required to deliver primary healthcare. So that's one. Under the diagnostics, I can see like the whole spread of diagnostic labs improving massively. Two big roles I can think of here are just the roles around technology, both hardware and software of how to run a lab. That's also gone through a lot of change, from being barely digital to labs being completely digital is happening right now. So like I know like large labs today have large IT teams. So they have massive complicated medical devices, plus a whole suite of software products which track a person's medical records over months and months, and the database, and then make that accessible, make something called smart reports, which have become quite a norm now with a lot of laboratories, where it's not just a report card, but it's an analysis of your health, and not just that. So that's happening. And with COVID, everyone tried getting a test at home, and that has just exploded the whole industry of diagnostics at home, which then has the whole hyper local supply chain problem of how do we send phlebos at every pin code and get samples picked up, and which then has its own overheads of managing such a fleet. And every lab in the country right now is trying to create their own fleet of phlebos, because it's just cost effective, and thus lot more roles coming up in that space I can see. And every lab is right now hiring phlebos and managers and team leads, and the whole org is building up there. I don't know if I have enough time to go over the rest, but just one or two more important ones. Under secondary care, I can see a lot of super specialization coming up in a lot of surgical interventions, where robotic surgery, sleep observation, organ transplants, things that are rarely happening in India are now happening at quite a decent scale. And these again trends say that these new categories are growing massively. So for a medical student to figure out a career which is deep into this, will have massive upside in the next decade, I think. Again, for hospitals also, deploying hardware software systems has become a big team, and all the hospitals I work with have large IT teams that they now deploy. I think another interesting one I can think of is population health, which is basically because of the whole government's project of giving every Indian health ID. That is an exercise as big as UPI was maybe 5 years back. And we're going to see a large push from the government to make this operationally happen. They have to create 1.5 billion health IDs, and we will do this through physical units. We'll do this through digital channels, and eventually all of us will have all our medical records aggregated into that one health locker that the government is trying to create. It's going to open up a lot more roles, just like UPI did, and people have to now figure out innovate business models on this. But it's the foundations are being laid by the government, but opens up a lot more opportunities here. And again, epidemic management also, thanks to COVID, has become in the limelight, and a lot of roles opening up here. This involves healthcare meeting maths to the purest, right? It's all statistics and data, which is people with those skills get hired for epidemic management. And another interesting one on chronic care disease is this whole innovation in the place that is called a CGM. It's called a continuous glucose measurement. And that industry again is exploding. It's basically a device you stick on your body, which then continuously measures your blood glucose. So for every diabetic patient, I can see in 5-6 years, everyone will be using this. And we're just on the cusp of that becoming a little affordable. I think it's a little in the premium segment right now, but a lot more innovation happening there. So both research roles and deployment business kind of roles are available in this space on chronic care management. And again, data science will play a very big role in finding correlations between what actions a patient does and what behavior their body demonstrates. And lastly, on preventive healthcare, I think again with COVID, everyone's become a lot more conscious about their health. There's almost overlap with diagnostics, but diagnostics was in a point of where you're sick, but preventive is a point of where you're all okay, but you want to check if you're okay. And again, I can see large businesses making huge investments in this space, where companies are now allocating budgets for getting their entire employee base health checked a couple of times a year, and not just employee plus their spouses and families. So again, massive opportunities in the preventive healthcare space as well. So yeah, that was not so short, but I think in a bunch of industries, a lot of options.
Thank you, Siddharth, for presenting in a very short time the prospects of the healthcare sector in a very broad canvas, dividing into 6 sectors, as I can see. I think we can leave the slide, and then I will come back to some very basic questions I can see from the chat box that from whatever Siddharth presented to us, that one thing is very sure and very clear, that there are ample opportunities coming up in the health sector. But fundamentally, who is required is a doctor. Whether it is telemedicine, whether it is diagnostics, whether it is preventive healthcare, whatever. So the country is in short supply of doctor also. And the medical profession, a career in medical has become very lucrative. I can see very naive questions in the chat box. There is a class 8 student calling from Shillong, I think. Yeah. And Karik Sharma, he is a class 8 student. He wants to pursue a career in medical science, how to become a doctor. So I think that answer I can give, that if he is located in India, I think after his class 12, I think there is a nationwide, national eligibility for entrance test for medical, NEET, is organized by the National Testing Agency, which is, I think, we just took place a few days back. So I think there is a national eligibility entrance test for getting into medical profession in India. And also that includes not only general medicine, but also dentistry and other allied subjects. But the point is As a young student, in order to crack this, these are highly competitive. There are lakhs of students competing for it. You have to be very, very clear and strong in your basics in mathematics, biology, chemistry. These are the areas you should, which need your focus now. So that is to Sharma. And there is another one. I think this question goes to Raghavendra ji. Here is a medical fourth semester student, I think. Yes, medical fourth semester student. He wants to carry forward his medical career abroad, maybe in the United States. What are the possibilities and how does he get into it? That is a question.
Yeah, so I guess like for United States, I think if you are in your fourth semester, it depends. Like, so if you are a doctor or you are like a resident or you are a biomedical student, that is not specified, right? So depending on like where you are, like for the doctor, I don't think I am the right person to tell because that's not the trajectory that I have worked with. But I think there are exams. So basically the simplest way to get into the US or to Europe is like after you finish your bachelor's, you do your master's in Europe or in US. So for that, you need to do give exams like there are GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS. So these are standard exams, and then you have to write your applications. It is always
There's
good.
An exam called a USMLE. USMLE is the exam that an Indian MBBS student has to write to be able to practice in the US. It's equivalent to an MBBS final exam if you had studied in the US.
What is it called?
USMLE.
Okay.
Yeah, USMLE. I'm not sure what the whole thing is, but that's required to practice. And typically, it's the same model across all countries. Most countries would not require, respect and graduation from India as is. Some countries do, but mostly, if you have to practice in say Singapore or many other first world markets, it's you write the medical graduation exam all over again.
Okay. Okay, then I will again go back to Dr. Mal. I'm asking on behalf of the students.
Sure.
See, generally in India, what is happening at the graduate level, students are going for, those who can crack the NEET, they can go for the medical profession directly. And they end up in clinics, hospitals. But then there is also there are also avenues for biomedical research, because there is a course in I think run by All India Institute of Medical Science and PGRI Chandigarh and others, which is called medical biotechnology, master's level medical biotechnology. I think that is one area where they can go. And what kind of prospects you see for a medical graduate who is not so much interested in the clinics but want to do research and get into innovation? But, I know, how do you see the possibilities for this group of students?
Oh, this actually it is tremendous. So one of the things that I keep talking to a lot of people with whom I interact is that a good majority of the research. So since I work in cancer a lot, I see that a good majority of the research in cancer that is happening in the US is driven by Indian doctors actually, who have got their education in India, but have now come to US and are working at top institutes like MD Anderson or Memorial Sloan Kettering, Broad Institute. So they are basically running clinical trials, and they understand the value of also, if they themselves do not understand the technology, they do understand the value of having someone from the computational biology or whatever who can analyze the data for them. Because in cancer, what is more important is that for a clinician is basically when they're running a clinical trial to see whether their drug is effective or not. Ultimately, for the doctor, they want to find solutions which are basically helping in the survival of the patients. So that is the predominant thing. And there are these conferences called ASCO, where I keep on seeing so many amazing Indian doctors who are coming in to these brilliant institutes and working in tandem, driving their research programs, having a set of lot of people working with them be it a different type of people. I'm actually pretty amazed with what all things that Siddharth presented, because these are some of the things that are happening here. But to see these kind of things happening in India is like really heartwarming, because so I would say like, yeah, this is what basically is the path that you can take also. And you can work in teams. One of the things that you have to learn, as even if you're just a doctor, or even if I am a computer scientist, you have to work in teams. You have to work with and you have to try to understand the language of the other. Sometimes as a computer scientist, you do not necessarily try to understand the biology, but until unless you understand the biology to some depth, I would not say complete depth, you will not be able to do something which is very meaningful, at least from the academic point of view. Yeah, if you are developing, I mean, and I am pretty sure Siddhant can also basically tell more about this, like how is his experience when he's working with the clinicians? Does do they take time to also understand some of the terminology, because it might enable them to develop better softwares and better products, right? How has your experience been?
Absolutely. So, one was just working with doctors who are our customers in some way, and seeing a lot of inputs from them, because technology has sort of become part of life for everybody. It's no longer a something that you do at work, because all of us use it so much, and even in doctors' life, right? They do all their social and their public and all of that on technology already. So getting it to their workplace has become far more natural than maybe 10 years back. Apart from that, we actually employ a lot of doctors who work as product managers, as marketing managers, as consumer research experts, as general administrative people at Practo, because they bring the domain expertise, and the function that they bring in, they're able to do that special innovation at Practo because of the medical background. So a lot of opportunities for knowing medical sciences but using it to build businesses. And building business involves everything, right? You need to deploy workforce, you need to be able to do financing, billing, you need to be able to do marketing. So we hire a lot of doctors today. I mean, at least dozens of doctors who are not practicing doctors. I mean, we already employ hundreds of doctors who are doing healthcare delivery every day, but even apart from that, a lot of people with medical background who are doing other functional roles.
I think I would like to add to that. There's not only there's the doctors probably who can get into these ancillary domains of management and accounting and research, field research and data analytics and all that. But I think people from say hardcore management also, they can get into this domain. So, for example, an MBA may not always target the banking sector, the other corporate sectors. They might as well get into the health sector and do their bit there. There are prospects there also. I think it's an happening place, the health sector, for every for people with every background. I think students with MBA who are following MBA or desiring to follow MBA, their management courses and all that career path in management, and even in statistics. They generally target that I will become a data scientist in some institution, research institution, or I will become a professor in an educational institutions like university. But then there are ample opportunities for data scientists, for statisticians. They can get into bioinformatics, they can get into cheminformatics and a lot many other things. And ultimately, they will find a place in the market. We have just 2 more minutes. One last word. I think this is very interesting. I think this is emergence of not just computer science that way, but also the emergence of an importance of bioprinting. Like we have this market is coming up. In orthopedics. Even in organ, after stem cell culture, I find bioprinting is the most important area coming. What is the prospect in India and abroad where they can study? Do you have any idea?
Can you elaborate a little bit on bioprinting? Like
it's 3D printing organs.
It's a 3D printing, basically.
Organs.
3D printing
like
of biological
on the knife's
organs.
edge. It's as sharp as it gets, I think. I think we are maybe not at the cusp of that proliferating. It's probably very much in the research phase right now.
Very much in the research level. I
Research
think
phase right now. Yeah.
human organs are being, manufactured. I think that is a very important and interesting area because, these days the boys who are doing computer science and in the engineering section, they are very, very excited about 3D printing and all that. And biology students cannot be left behind because bioprinting is catching on with that. So I think many young students know that these can be career options. I think with this, I do not see any other. There is one. I think the return of investment. I think that is an economic question. If I pursue a course in medical science, it's long, hard career. I have to invest a lot in terms of my academic engagement, time, and money. So, what is the return of investment in terms of money? Say, I can see 2-3 queries. So, how much would I get back? I think very simple question, but I think it's a very practical question. I think there is no quick answer to that. Ready answer.
There are answers. Okay, go ahead.
Answers, yes.
You can go ahead, and then I will also.
That's all right. Yeah. I just see that there cannot be one answer to that. That you can answer. You can earn so much of money.
So there's some career choices that start paying back fairly quickly. Typically, right now in the startup economy of India, if you were a computer science graduate right now, probably you get your highest post-graduation salaries in the computer science space by far. I mean, there's no two doubts about it, right? But of course, it also has its own growth path, but the growth won't be as spectacular as, say, 10 years, 15 years down. It will definitely grow. But for professions like medicine and law and a couple of these, right, there is a lot of period which takes to build one's practice. But once you're there, the expert becomes the brand. I've seen massive doctors who have become brands of their own, who drive crores of businesses a month, right? And that's probably impossible to do in most other professions because it's a single person's expertise, right? An expert surgeon is irreplaceable; those hands have that skill. But the question was right. I think some of them have bigger return cycles on investment, but the returns also are disproportionate. Practically disproportionate. There is nothing else you could have done to get that kind of salaries which top doctors and top surgeons get.
Right.
So it must be a pyramid at the top, but yeah.
As you very rightly said that the doctor becomes the brand, and you have to create that brand, and you have to work hard for that.
Yeah.
I think we can wind up with this. I think we have crossed the limit of our allotted time. Thank you very much, Dr. Raghavendra Mal and Mr. Siddhartha. And thanks for the participation of the students. And I think they will get more food for thought about their career possibilities in future. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.